Okay, full attack with the rapier. Let's do it.
Tired of all critical fails. Can't deal with it anymore.
Howdy, stranger. Things have obviously gone wrong, and you have a wet towel wrapped around your head. But don't worry, big surprise. You or me. Copenhagen got to me first. But don't worry, you can still get what you want. All you have to do is shove that thing up your nose. Don't worry, it's self-guided. Happy critical hits, buddy. I'll see you on the other side. Yeah.
Welcome to Expansion Theory. Oh God. Oh, at least it's a 20. That's good. Oh Jesus.
How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to Expansion Theory. I'm Mike, and this is my co-host Ambrosius. We were just discussing one of my favorite pastimes as a kid, just crushing, absolutely dominating a dungeon. How many games have you played where you just ran through, collected loot, killed monsters, leveled up, just grinded it out and had a great time doing it? And you knew at some point you were just absolutely invincible. There was nothing that could stop you. Or so you thought. Because at some point, you had to deal with the boss monster. And you always knew this guy was going to give you more trouble than you were worth. But those were the good old days. And even though I loved the challenge of trying to kill a boss monster, what about if you could be the boss monster? If you could flip the script and just completely flip it around, crush heroes yourself. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But before we do, since we have a new game today, I want to talk about a new segment I want to do. I've normally been doing games that were by big companies, Milton Bradley, Fantasy Flight, Mayfair, things like that. There's a big contingent of indie games out there, and indie games are getting made much more often because of Kickstarter. And for those of you who don't know what Kickstarter is, it's a crowdfunding program where people can give you updates and developments on projects that they're doing and ask for your money and support. And when you do, you usually get some sort of incentive, like the product itself, or like your name in the credits or something like that. But because of Kickstarter, a lot of indie producers are being able to make games without having to deal with the runaround of trying to get their games produced through a big company. It's a really great time for board games. It's really giving us a new breadth and just a wonderful, expansive new look at the world of tabletop gaming, so it's a great thing. And because of that, we're going to inaugurate a special news segment on Expansion Theory called the Indie Showcase. So Boss Monster is a super cool light card game that I had the fortune of helping through Kickstarter. That's why I have this nifty gold backer edition box. Don't worry though, even if you don't get the legendary edition for backers, behold! Wah! The game itself is a love letter to the classic NES days. From the box design to the sprite graphics, even the expansion looks like an old Game Boy box. They really went the extra mile in the art design, and it really helps, especially with nods to NES worlds like this Brainsucker Hive, which is basically a bunch of Metroids, and King Croak, what looks to be a riff on Wart from Mario 2, or Doki Doki Panic before any of you NESophiles crucify me. So like I said, the idea is that you play as a boss monster at the end of a dungeon you build. You pass out bosses randomly and go in order of their XP rank. That's this number here. Then you take turns building your dungeon. There are 5 phases. The beginning, where you reveal heroes and draw cards. The build phase, where you build your rooms from the room deck found here. the bait phase, where you bait heroes to the entrance to your dungeon, and the adventure phase, where heroes actually travel through your dungeon. Then there's the end of turn, where you tally up souls and wounds to see who at the table lives and who dies. Rooms are laid out from right to left, and a dungeon can only have 5 rooms at a time, at which point a boss monster may use the level up ability listed on its card. Rooms come in either monster or trap forms, as well as basic, which are silver, and advanced, which are gold rooms. Any basic room can be built on top of another room, but advanced rooms need to be built on a room that shares the same treasure type. That's these here. The treasure types are Ankhs, swords, books, and moneybags. And the person with the most of any treasure type in their dungeon baits the heroes in town with those treasure types, like these guys. That's the bait phase. However, if people are tied for the most or no one has that treasure, the heroes stay in town and start to bottleneck. Then next turn, all those heroes come out, or they keep piling up. Finally, the adventure phase is when the heroes tromp through and ruin your business. Or at least, they can try. You have 2 things at your disposal to dispense whoop-ass: your rooms and your spells. Spells are self-explanatory and they do what's written, like deal damage or switch around rooms. But your rooms have a damage rating. For every room a hero walks through, he takes damage. When his health, seen here, is whittled down to 0, he croaks and you collect his soul. If he makes it past your rooms though, your boss takes a wound. 10 souls to win, 5 wounds and you're eliminated. So if at the end of the turn you have 10 souls or 5 wounds, you either win or lose. And that's it. It's light, quick, fun, and surprisingly challenging depending on how you place your rooms. It's a fantastic little game, and I'm thrilled to own it. Now you may think, why mess with a good thing? The game itself is a ton of fun on its own, but I wanted to add my own little spin to it, just because I remember the toughest part of the game for me was the boss fight. Wouldn't it be great if the bosses fought back? With that, I present to you my Boss Monster expansion, Final Form! Whoop. So in a lot of games I used to play, well, I say used to play like I don't play them now, but after you thought you killed the boss, Payayo! Wah! Suddenly, he sprouted 2 more heads and grew twice the size of the screen. Well, with Final Form, now you can do that. I added levels, damage, and special abilities for each boss. To even out the field so the boss monsters don't get too powerful, I've made it so that the experience they need to level is deducted from their souls, specifically the health of their conquered heroes. When a boss monster decides to sacrifice a number of health points from his fallen hero, equal to a level tier, he ascends 1 level. Excess points go to the garbage though, sorry monsters. For the next level though, it gets harder and harder and harder and you need more points. And you can only level once per turn, so no being sneaky and adding leftover points from heroes to your next level advancement. Cheeky monkey. So my expansion comes with a level track. Sacrifice this many souls to get this level. Remember, you can only level once per turn, but when you do, you unlock cool stuff. For each boss, I've given a slew of new abilities, and all bosses now start out with a damage value like a regular room. The abilities must occur during certain times listed on their reference cards. The bosses are, in order of XP, Robobo! Starting with 2 points of damage, he's the physically strongest boss, and as he levels up, he can sacrifice rooms to avoid damage. Gorgona. She can turn heroes to stone, but as she levels, she can either crush them for souls or send them to other heroes' dungeons before destoning them. Seducia. She gets bonuses to baiting heroes to her dungeon, and she can eventually create thralls that she can send to other dungeons to wreak havoc. Cerebellus. Very spell-centric and may gain spells instead of runes. And he can snatch Brainsucker hives from the deck or even other players, and they become his little Metroid foot soldiers that he can make stronger. Zyzax. The master of versatility, he can change his treasure type and gains damage later for rooms that share a treasure type with him. Since this is a killer ability though, other players can sacrifice rooms to deny him this feature. King Croak. He can make toadies of varying degrees of toughness and send them to town, sort of a secondary spawn pool aside from town, that makes players work more to get to heroes. Cleopatra. She has versatility with trap rooms and can eventually make heroes that die in trap rooms into mummies that help her cause. Draculord. He can gather vampire allies by being able to grab succubus spa or vampire bordello rooms, and he can discard heroes to heal wounds. If that's not enough, he can leave his dungeon to wreck another player, but it leaves him vulnerable if he's killed. Finally, Anarirak. He can sneak peeks at players' hands and can curse rooms so that heroes are not hurt going through them. Later he can curse heroes themselves so they don't give souls or deal double damage. So, that's the expansion in a nutshell. Take a look at the rules for the game. I posted them on the blog at expansiontheory.wordpress.com, and you can see all the ins and outs for each boss for yourself. Also, I'm going to start posting more blog posts that are not just about the YouTube episodes, more about the world of games themselves, including tabletop and card and video games and the like. It's a slow process, and I'm generally just making these videos myself, so thank you for anybody watching out there. I'm picking up steam, and I'm incredibly grateful for all, 3 of my viewers who are sticking by me. And as always, send me comments, hate mail, whatever you like at earthwornproductions@gmail.com. Especially suggestions on what you want to see in future episodes, or things you think I could have changed in ones I've already done. Thanks for watching, and remember to stay critical! Keep rolling those 20s!